That's right. It's time for some real education. And today we're going to look at a giant column, a column named to commemorate Roman Emperor Trajan's victory in the Dacian Wars. Since he appears on the column 58 times, it's not that hard to guess that it was named after him. So the column was completed in 113 AD and has since inspired such victory columns, as they're called, in both the ancient and modern world. And the top was crowned by Pope Sixtus V with a bronze figure of St. Peter in 1587.
Yeah, interesting. Take a look at the column again. Trajan was a Roman emperor. He ruled the Roman Empire from about 98 AD to 117 AD. And if you know anything about Roman history, the 30, 40 years before Trajan became emperor were incredibly complex. You had Nero, you had civil war in Rome, you had the year of the four emperors, you had Domitian and the persecution of Christians, you had all sorts of bad stuff. And what Rome desperately needed, the empire was beginning to crumble. People were losing faith in its ability to govern. Trajan, who was born actually in Africa, one of the first African emperors, Trajan was elevated to the throne with people not knowing what to make of him, right? What they were going to be able to do with him. And what ended up happening is he became an amazingly great emperor. He actually fought one of the last great wars that Rome used to expand their boundaries, right? By this time in Roman history, the empire was more or less set. The last time a Roman emperor would engage in a war that would expand Rome's boundaries further was the Dacian War. After that, it would continue to shrink. And the Dacians were a really fierce eastern tribe, horsemen, very, very talented with bows and arrows. And one thing that Trajan did that Roman emperors hadn't done since the time of the Caesars, Trajan actually got on a horse and went to war himself. He actually rode with his armies all the way to the eastern part of the empire. It's a long way on horseback to engage in this battle himself. It's a really wonderful thing in terms of military history. And if you look at the column that commemorates him, the structure is 98 feet in height. And has a very large pedestal. These columns, I think they were ultimately derived from the obelisks, the long, think about the Washington Monument. I think they were ultimately derived from the obelisks that the ancient Greeks used to put up to give information and to commemorate their own victories. This one has beautiful carving. Go to a close-up, Mike. It has beautiful carving all around every niche or all around the column of aspects of the war. Here you have Roman soldiers who are doing heavy lifting. They're creating a fortification, they're building a wall, they're repairing. Because when Roman soldiers weren't fighting, and they were the fiercest fighting force of the ancient world. When they weren't fighting, they were carrying bricks, they were building encampments, they were digging tunnels and moats, they were doing all sorts of fortification work. Just a really incredibly active life. You can see here some of the Roman soldiers as they are marching off to war against the Dacians. And this beautiful column, if you look at the broad picture again, this beautiful column, it kind of winds around, right? And you can see the lines where it's almost like each line is a band in which a story is told. And as Katie pointed out, Trajan appears, was it 58 times on his own column. And of course, there was supposed to be an eagle on the top, but that was lost at some point or never put there. And a Roman Pope, Sixtus, actually put a statue of St. Peter there, which is there to this day.